ねもしも全て投げ捨てられたら笑って生きることが楽になるのまた胸が痛くなる
Chapter 1. Oh man, is it that obvious? Winter had arrived at UA. With only 1 week left to the holiday ball, students' minds were not on their lessons, but rather on the thrilling idea of spending an evening with their friends and possible lovers, all dressed up. There would be food, music, and hopefully a time for long-awaited confessions. You fiddled with the tip of your pencil and tapped your foot quietly. Aizawa-sensei was droning on about something, and while it was unlike you not to listen, you kept stealing glances of a particular black-haired boy seated next to you. He did not notice your eyes as they wandered all over his calm expression. They skimmed over his smooth hair down to his strong arms, which you desperately wished would hold you. Your gaze fell onto his chest, and you flushed light pink at the thought of seeing it bare. You shook your head, trying to rid yourself of these romantic fantasies during class. Hopefully, he would ask you to be his date for the dance at lunch or after school. You knew he had every right to ask him yourself, but throughout the past couple of weeks, you had dropped obvious hints of your feelings towards him, and even joked that if you both still did not have a date, you should go together. It appeared that he still has not picked up on the hints over the course of the last few days, and you were starting to get anxious. You really did not want to be the one to ask him. You worried your good friendship with this boy would be lost if he rejected you. Why does Sero make me so utterly nervous? You thought, out of annoyance, ever since you realized you had strong feelings for the goofy grinned, taped boy. You always got so nervous and flushed around him. His opinion on anything wasn't so important to you. Everything from the way your hair looked to how you trained. You worried what he thought. Whenever Sero threw you the slightest compliment, it made your entire day. Even though your head was still jumbled up with all your daydreams of Sero, your eyes had shifted back to your notebook, laying open on your desk. As you propped your head up with your hand, you did not notice the ravenet tilt his head slightly in your direction, smiling to himself. Chapter 2. You'll catch a cold. Lunchtime finally came and students flooded into the cafeteria, excitedly chatting about the ball. For a moment, you had forgotten about your hopes of Sero, as you discussed with Mina and Momo what you were going to wear for the big night. You joined your usual lunch table after grabbing some food. It was filled with your friends, Mina, Momo, Ochako, Sue, Jiro, Hagakure, and sometimes Kaminari, Kirishima, and Sero would join you. So, Mina started, nudging you in the arm as you took your seat. You got a date, or were you gonna go by yourself? You nearly choked on the rice that had entered your throat. Not yet. You managed to sputter before reaching your glass. Ooh, you should ask Sero. You totally got the hots for him. You spat your water in disbelief at what Hagakure had said. Oh man. You sighed, slumping back in your seat. Is it really that obvious? Your friends giggled. Yeah, it is. You blush every time we're around him and his friends. Ochako spoke up, giving you a sweet smile. You could feel the heat begin to rise in your cheeks, and your friends went back to chatting about the upcoming event, leaving you alone with your embarrassment. The lunch hour ticked by, and although you saw Sero eating with Kaminari and Kiri, he never once seemed to make an attempt to talk to you. Eventually, lunch was finished and students left for their afternoon lessons. Soon, school let out, and most students went to their dorms. The evening fell, and Class 1A enjoyed some dinner, followed by nighttime leisure activities like movies or talking. Sero still had not asked you. In fact, it seemed as though he was avoiding you. When you sat next to him at dinner, he only made conversation with the electric blonde on his other side. You attempted to settle down next to him while the movie played, but Sero kept nervously shifting his body further away from you. You retreated to your room in defeat and fell into a restless sleep. The next day passed, and the next, and the next, and neither you nor Sero had made any moves. Now you were really worried. All of your friends and everyone in UA, it seemed, had a date or was going with friends. Why don't you just ask him? Jiro said, absent-mindedly plucking a song into her electric guitar. Most of the 1A girls had gathered in Jiro's room, and all eyes were on you. Well, you knew the answer. I'm scared. He'll say no. I can't bear to have him reject me. You hugged one of Jiro's big pillows as you sat crisscross on her bed. Sero might be feeling the same way. That's probably why he hasn't tried or anything. You nodded, still having doubts. Sooner than you would have liked to admit, the day before the holiday ball had arrived. You and your friends were due for a shopping trip, which you had mixed feelings about, and you still did not have a date, or the courage to ask Hanta Sero. Ellen, can you run by the store and buy some more butter? We're all out. A distressed Sato called out to you from the kitchen. Sure thing, you said, leaping up from your seat on the couch. Thanks, here's some cash. You gratefully took the money and walked out the door, after bundling up in a coat and scarf. You pushed the front doors of the dorm open, savoring the last moments of warmth before stepping out into the cold winter air. There was a light layer of snow covering the earth, and you pulled your scarf over your nose, shivering slightly. It was a fairly long walk to the nearest corner store, and it felt even longer because of the chilling winds that tickled your cheeks. It had become darker when you reached the store, and it made you think it was much later than it actually was. You traded the cash for a package of butter sticks and started your return to the dorms. Again, you found your head filled with fantasies about the tape boy. Your dreams to slow dance with him at the ball, walk with him in your arms linked together, and maybe sneak in a quick kiss on his cheek, all swirled around in your distracted mind. You were so wrapped up in thinking about Sero, you did not notice the rustling branches of the tree you were about to pass. When you came to that tree planted near the sidewalk, you would stop to take a moment to enjoy the beautiful snowflakes that had quietly begun to fall. They landed on your eyelashes and you giggled in delight. The street was lit up with lampposts and some lights from the stores and buildings. All was silent, and more frosty flakes gracefully landed on the ground, or fell delicately on top of your hair. You felt as though you were in some peaceful, magical winter wonderland. It would have been even more magical had a certain someone joined you. Lost in thought, you saw the sight of someone out of the corner of your eye, and it nearly made you shriek. Your attention snapped to the tree you were standing next to, and hanging upside down from a tree branch with his sticky tape was none other than Hanta Sero himself. He shot you a goofy grin and waved at you. After realizing who it was, you felt a wave of relief wash over you, and you let out a small laugh at his silliness. Then you really realized who it was. It was Hanta Sero. Hanta Sero, the guy you were totally head over heels for, the boy you had befriended earlier this year, the man you wanted to laugh with over dumb things, cry with over cheesy rom-coms, and spend long hours in the car with while having the radio blasting to your favorite songs. You quickly became quiet, shifting your grocery bag from one hand to the other, and hoped Sero could not tell how red your face was in the dim evening light. Sorry if I scared you, Ellen. the black-haired boy exclaimed, still hanging upside down like Spider-Man. "Oh no, I'm fine," you reassured him with a nervous smile. "But why in the world are you upside down in a tree in the winter?" He laughed and then looked at you fidgeting around in your coat, trying to keep warm. "I was bored," he admitted, "and wanted to get some fresh air before I went back to bed." "But it's freezing," you whined, shoving your hands in your pockets. Sero smirked and readjusted his grip on his tape. You tried to remember the last time you really had a casual conversation with your weird-elbowed friend, and it felt like it had been decades. The two of you were silent for a little, both too scared to say anything. The snow continued to fall around you, and you suddenly looked up at Sero's upside-down figure with worry. He noticed your expression and was about to say something, but you had stepped towards him. You placed your hands slightly on Sero, cupping his face. It had turned a bright crimson, but you were too distracted to notice. "How long have you been out here, and with only a light jacket to keep you warm? Sero, you're gonna catch a cold." Sero's heart fluttered as you fretted about him. His face color had gone down significantly, but he was still unbelievably flustered by what had happened. You sighed and removed your hands, placing them back in your pockets. "You should come back with me. It'll get late. My friends and I are going shopping for the ball, so I'm needed there pretty soon." You looked at him, trying not to grin like a fool. He opened his mouth to say something, but could not get the words out. "Now was as ever a good time, right?" Sero closed his eyes and inhaled. "Ellen, yes?" His palms were sweaty, heart was beating loudly in his ears, and he was dangerously close to falling to the ground if he let go of his tape. "Will you go to the dance with me?" Sero opened one eye, fearing your reaction. You stood there for a split second before cupping his face again and giving him a little upside-down kiss on the top of his cold nose. Both of you began to blink at the coldness of your actions. You had already stepped back, squealing with delight, heart racing and entire spirit overwhelmed with happiness. Sero was satisfied with what you did. He resisted the urge to full-on kiss you right then and there, and his heart swelled at the thought of seeing you dressed up and spending an evening with you. As you were briefly squirming with joy, Sero was watching you and was so lost in your beauty and smile, he accidentally let his grip loosen and tumbled into a small bush placed below the tree. You immediately stopped cheering and rushed to his side. "Sero!" you cried, running to help him. He laughed, rubbing his head before taking your hand and standing. "Are you alright?" "I'm fine, really." His hand still clapped around yours. You hit him lightly in the back of his head, making him flinch. "Baka, that's why you shouldn't be hanging upside down from a tree in this cold. You could have gotten hurt." "Ellen, it's not a big deal, I
don't want to hear
promise. Once we get home, get warm or something. I have a shopping trip to go on." Sero zipped up his jacket, smiling. He intertwined his fingers around your wrist, yanking you lightly forward and catching you off guard. Wait." He began to run down the sidewalk in the direction of UA, laughing as you stumbled to keep up in the snow. "Come on, we'll get there faster this way." You warmed at Sero's touch on your wrist. His laughter echoed in your ears, and you could not help but crack up as the two of you stumbled back into the dorms in the dark. Hey, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to continue this series, I think it only has 3 more chapters. I will be more than happy to. Just let me know in the comments down below. And as always, the link for the original fanfic will be in the description below, so please go check it out and give the author some kudos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's all for today. Goodbye, loves.